Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves who I am to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous. Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel unsure about you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. As we let our light shine, we consciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Very good. Give yourself a hand for reading that. So I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and I was exposed to some not so nice things. But I was really sheltered. I was blessed to have a grandmother that had very old school traditions and values, and she shipped me off to private school. And a lot of times in private school, it's not like being exposed to the real world. So even though I grew up in the hood, a lot of my friends that lived on the block, they went to the neighborhood schools. I didn't, so I didn't know what it was like. So it wasn't really cool to be smart on the south side of Chicago in the hood. It wasn't cool to wear a uniform to school, but I had to wear a uniform to school. One thing that I do remember being younger was the idea that I didn't want people to know that I was smart. I had this anxiety that I couldn't speak to anyone because I didn't want them to find me out. Because it was lame. It was really lame to be smart. And some of that anxiety I actually carried on into my adult life. When I grew up, my grandmother used to tell this story. I don't know if anyone has ever heard it, but I'm going to tell it anyway. So she would talk about the fool. So the story was, it was a small town boy, and he used to want to go to town with his father. Every day he asked his father, can he go to town? His father refused to let him go to town because he was a fool. And he told him, if you go to town, you're going to be found out. So just stay at home, and I'm going to go to town. So every day the boy continued, let me go to town, let me go to town. So one day, the father decided, come on out, I'm going to take you to town. 2 rules. Don't say anything, because we really don't want anyone to find out that you're a fool. Stay in the car. So the father began to run errands, and the boy stayed in the car. And I don't know what kind of car he had, but in my mind, I could imagine back in the day, a big old school pickup truck. And I could imagine the boy had his windows down. So people are walking by in the country. People speak. In Chicago, they don't speak. So they're walking past the truck, and they speak to the little boy. So one man spoke to the little boy, he didn't say anything. So he said, hi, did you hear what I said? Hello? The boy didn't say anything. So he said it again, hello, did you hear me? He didn't say anything. So by the time the father came back out to the car, the little boy was crying. So the father asked, what's wrong? He said to him, you told me if I didn't say anything, they wouldn't find out I was a fool. But they found out anyway. So I grew up with that type of programming. Don't let them find out. So as opposed to finding out I'm smart, I'm just gonna be quiet. I'm gonna sit back and say, like, sir, last week. I don't want them to know that I've never sold a property. So let me just be quiet and I'll figure it out as I go. So I went to the conference, and of course I started to think about the nonverbal communication part of it. As a professional, you know, people judge you based on appearance. So everything in my mind of how I would project myself as a professional, I had a nice dark blazer like I thought everybody would wear, and I had my business cards ready, and I had kind of this elevator pitch, but I wasn't really ready to say it, but if I needed to, I would be able to say that. So when I got to to the hotel, I remember walking in and checking in, and the line looked like something from Six Flags. And I began to get anxious because I'm thinking, it's going to be thousands of people here. I have no idea what I'm going to say. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know a single person here. So I sat in my room for about 2 hours because I was afraid, and I was thinking, you know, I don't know if I should just go home at this point. I mean, I really don't know how I would even be able to contribute anything to this conference. But I decided, and I had to talk myself up in the mirror, I decided that I was going to give myself credit for being present. And it's a certain art in being present, being able to pay attention. And that was one thing I was really good at. I could look around the room, see how everyone was acting, and I could just imitate that. And so I was just going to go with it. So I was present, and I was really proud of myself. So I kind of gave myself a pat on the back before I left the room, and that kind of gave me the confidence to go out into the conference. So it was the opening night, and it had to be 2,000 people at this conference. And of course, as you can look into the conference, there was an escalator that came down, and you can see this sea of people. So this sea of real estate professionals, everybody had on dark suits, black, navy blue, and gray. I fit in because I had on a black blazer, so I was good. So as I came down, and right before the ceremony began, I noticed there was this one guy. He, as my grandmother would say, he stuck out like a fly in a bucket of buttermilk. He had on a Hawaiian shirt, no blazer, really long hair, and he just seemed to be in the wrong environment. It just seemed like he just wasn't with the rest of us. So I kind of kept my eye on him because it was just interesting that he was dressing very different, but it was okay. So got in and started to get into the circles, and I really just was quiet. And as everyone introduced themselves, I noticed they said their names and where they were from. Got it. Hi, my name is CJ Walker. I'm from Chicago. Nice to meet you. Pass the business card. So as we started moving all these circles, we got around to the guy in the Hawaiian shirt. So he introduced himself. He said, hi, my name is Howard. I'm from Hawaii. So instead of passing a regular business card like everyone else, he actually handed a Ziploc bag. Inside the bag was a card and sand and shells inside. And it said, you're now holding your first piece of Hawaiian real estate. I said that, it was like the light bulb came on. I said, that's it. You have to be different. And to this day, this was 2009, I still know Howard. He's a Facebook friend of mine. And he really drove the that conference. But she heard that there was a conference and she just showed up. And I thought that was pretty rogue of her to show up at a conference when you don't know what's going on. But okay, fine. So I began to say how disappointed I was that I wasn't going to be able to go to the brunch. And she said, well, why not? Why aren't you able to go? I said, well, you're supposed to RSVP months ago. I didn't do it. And now they don't have any seats. She said, we're going to go anyway. So, of course, in my mind, if I didn't prepare, I didn't RSVP, and I actually paid for the conference, I don't know how you, a stranger off the street, is going to walk in and go into this brunch. So as we're approaching the ballrooms, there are about 100 people standing outside of the door. So as we're approaching the door, I'm thinking, we're not getting in. We're not getting in. Just turn around. We're not getting in. It was nice meeting you, Breezy. We'll keep in contact. We're not getting in. But I'm not saying those things. I'm just quiet. I'm watching. Because Breezy is walking in such a way that you have to follow. She's walking like she's the speaker of the event. So I'm just following her. So as she's walking, and once we approach the crowd, I'm thinking she's going to stop. She never stopped until she got to the door. So she got to the door, and they opened the door, and they said, do you guys have seats? Breezy said yes. I'm thinking like, oh, we're about to be found out because we're going to stand in the back of the room. And so they said, come on in. So we walked in, and I swear we must have taken 3 steps into the conference room. And as we walked in, there was a guy that was walking towards us, and he said, are you guys looking for seats? She said, yes. He said, there are 2 seats right up front. Chills was like in my body because I was thinking, what just happened? I wouldn't have been able to even like grasp the whole concept. So I just continued to follow her and we walked up front. And so as we're sitting at the table that's of course full besides the 2 seats that's available for us, we're sitting down and I'm standing in astonishment because I'm thinking, what is it that she knows that I don't know? And before I could even introduce myself to the people at the table, I remember just looking over at her like, what? And she said to me, sometimes when they slam the door in your face, you have to kick it off the hinges. Those are lessons that I've been able to carry throughout life. And of course, Breezy is still my friend. So when I moved to Atlanta 4 years ago, guess who was the first person I hit up? So in life, and not just the real estate conference, I learned that you really, really have to be comfortable in being present in any environment. You have to be different because, of course, no one will remember you if you aren't different. But one thing that is really, really stuck to my ribs at this point is that you have to be relentless in your pursuit of your goals. And if there's anything else that I want you guys to take away, those are the things that I want you to remember when you're facing any of your fears. Thank you for your time. My name is